every adult girl in the village is sent into a mountain cave to marry the god. But strangely, before entering the cave, each girl must first be inspected by the elders, then have her eyes covered with red cloth before going in. What's terrifying is, very few women who enter the cave ever become pregnant with the god's child, and even the lucky ones will die within 6 months. So on the day the god chooses a bride, families with daughters always pack up and flee early. But this year a female college student volunteered to become the god's new bride. The reason she ignored the danger was because her older sister disappeared during last year's marriage ceremony, and no one has heard from her since. So she planned to uncover the truth herself, but the village chief immediately rejected her, because by the rules, her family had already been chosen last year. So this year it wasn't her turn. But this time, no other girl in the village dared to volunteer. To avoid angering the god, the village chief had no choice but to let her marry the god. He then told her stepmother to teach her the rules of the bridal chamber. The stepmother herself was chosen by the god 20 years ago. She returned to the village only after giving birth to the god's child. Before the wedding ceremony, the stepmother had to personally examine the girl's body to confirm she was clean and pure. During the inspection, the stepmother discovered a few strange books beside the girl's bed and immediately grew suspicious. But the girl quickly responded, saying those were just books about enhancing fertility, because in recent years, almost no one had borne the god's child, so she wanted to use outside methods to help. Seeing how clever and obedient the girl was, the stepmother immediately told her the bridal rules and quickly completed the body check. Feeling very satisfied, the next day soon arrived. The girl dressed in plain clothes came to the ancestral hall. When the chief saw her pure and elegant appearance, he immediately ordered her to change into the wedding robe. This took the girl by surprise. Changing in front of everyone was hard for her to accept, but the stepmother claimed they were all assigned to inspect for the god, and to serve the god, she had to pass their test first. Only then could she enter the mountain cave to uncover the truth. The girl had no choice but to behave like a puppet, as the stepmother undressed her in front of the crowd. After the elders completed their inspection, the girl finally put on the bright red wedding gown and began walking step by step toward the cave to marry the god. But halfway there, the girl deliberately fell and hit a rock. When the chief saw the wound on her arm, he immediately scolded her for bleeding on such an auspicious day, but he had no idea it was all part of her plan. People quickly helped her up from the ground to ensure the wedding continued. The girl took out a jade pendant and told the chief it was a protective charm gifted by a master, meant to keep her safe in all things. The master had already predicted she would first suffer before receiving joy, and this blood was just the beginning of good fortune. Once she met the god, she would surely conceive. The chief was half convinced, but dared not offend the god, so he hurriedly brought out the red cloth, covered her eyes, and reminded her solemnly, as the god's bride, her eyes must remain pure. She must never look at the evil spirits in the mountain. Only when she meets the god may she remove the red cloth. Then, supported by the stepmother, the girl slowly walked toward the cave entrance. As she walked, she let her bleeding wound drip along the path, secretly leaving a trail. Once they reached the cave, the chief asked her one last time if she had any regrets. She replied firmly that she would do everything she could to bear the god's child and bring